Hi students, welcome to Digital Photography Week 2. I hope you had an awesome weekend and I also hope that my microphone is working well. So our goal for this week is to start shooting our cameras and getting some pictures. But before we do that, I have a little lesson for us, a little treat. So when you finish this lesson, you'll be able to identify the 4 visual art standards, identify the subject matter of photographs, Google the meaning behind photographs or the stories, recognize the elements of art and the principles of design, create your blog entries, and start your week 2 assignments. So these are the Utah Visual Arts Standards. There are 4 of them. Standard 1 is making. Standard 2 is perceiving. Standard 3 is expressing. And Standard 4 is contextualizing. So students will assemble and create visual art by manipulating art media and by organizing images with the elements and principles. Let's see here if I turn it like that. That makes a difference. So objective A, explore, understand, refine techniques and processes in a variety of media. And objective B, create visual art using art elements and principles. We're going to learn about those art elements and principles today. The media that we use in this class is photography. And basically, standard 1, making, just means making art. So that one's pretty simple, even though it sounds complex. Standard 2 is perceiving, and this is the process of taking things in. If it's visual art, we are perceiving them with our eyes. We're taking that information in, we're processing it, we're making sense of it by analyzing, criticizing, and evaluating it. This is critiquing, this is evaluating. Standard 2, perceiving. So standard 3 is expressing, and this is where students will create meaning in their visual art, creating meaning and expressing. Kind of the same thing. So objective A, create content in visual art. Content is substance. So the substance of something is the content. The subject that it's about, the message, the meaning, that's all the content. Objective B, perceive content. So in order for you to understand how you should create art to elicit a certain response, you need to understand your own perception of things well enough to be able to do that for others as well, to create meaning in your work. You need to understand how people perceive it. So I know that just kind of is like a cat chasing its tail around, right? Objective C is to curate visual art. So curators work in museums. They're the ones who put together exhibits and decide how to order and organize things according to the medium and content. Standard 4 is contextualizing. It says students will find meaning in visual art through settings and other modes of learning. Objective A, align works of art according to history, geography, personal experience. Objective B, synthesize visual art with other educational subjects. Objective C, evaluate the impact of visual art on life outside of school. To me, contextualizing is like putting things in context, making connections. So just looking at a piece of artwork and connecting it to the period of history that it was made in, or your own period of history, looking at similarities and differences, juxtaposing things. Yeah, that's all contextualizing. So let's see how you can do. Identify the visual art standard. Here we go. Create meaning in visual art. Create and perceive content. Was that making, perceiving, expressing, or contextualizing? Look at it. Create meaning. Do you remember? Creating meaning was expressing. Yes, when you express, you create some meaning. Find meaning by analyzing, criticizing, and evaluating. Critique visual art. So we've already used expressing. So is it making, perceiving, or contextualizing? Perceiving, yes, when we're taking it in and making sense of it by analyzing, criticizing, and evaluating it. Yes, seeking is perceiving. Finding meaning in art through different lenses, such as history, geography, personal experience, educational subjects. Evaluating the impact visual art has on life outside of school. Making connections. This one was contextualizing, putting things in context. Next, create visual art. Manipulate art media. Organize images using art elements and principles. Explore, understand, refine your technique and process in a variety of media. So this is making, yes, fancy words for making. I can identify the 4 visual art standards. True. Identify the subject matter of photography. So there's 3 different subject matters overall. We have landscape, street photography, and portraiture. This is an example of landscape.
Maybe it's Elsa and Anna.
My daughter just said this might be Elsa and Anna out here in the landscape. Landscape photography shows spaces within the world, sometimes vast and unending, but other times microscopic. So you'll notice that we've got these different forms and patterns and textures going on. Then we have street photography, and the features of street photography are pretty cool because basically the subjects in these photographs don't realize that you're taking a picture. These are candid situations, generally in public places. So you're kind of capturing a moment. It's not manipulated. The people aren't posing. They're unaware.
Mom, look at Mom. But now this, we drive over there.
This is portrait photography.
Look it.
Yeah, my daughter likes these too. I like these as well. These 2 pictures in color over to the right are Stephen Curry's photographs. I love this subject matter in color.
I like that one.
Photography, which is also
Mom.
called portraiture.
Mommy?
Just a second. Is the art of capturing the subject. In these cases, it can be one person, a group of people, with face or facial features, and the facial expressions are really predominant in the image. So, time for you to take a little quiz here. Can you identify the subject matter of each of these photographs? So, just gonna say whether you think it's landscape, street, or portrait photography. Okay, so we've got Maisel's work. What do you think? He actually does street photography. So this could also be a portrait, but there is a chance that this person is unknowing and does not realize that Jay is taking a picture of him because he kind of has this like really cool rooftop setting and this giant camera lens, and he can zoom in and take pictures of people from really far away, and they don't even know. Guzy, what do you think? Landscape, portraiture, or street photography? I might have to go with street photography on this one. They don't look like they are posing for this shot. Aww. That's the portrait, huh? So I'm not going to tell you the story behind all of these because I think part of the intrigue of school is kind of like finding something that captures your attention and you want to know more about it. So I think it would be great if you actually went on and Googled.
Look at that kitty cat.
Yeah, look at that kitty cat. You know, what do you think's happening to that cat, Eva?
Getting boxed in there.
It's getting boxed in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you're even slightly and remotely intrigued, you should go and Google and find out what's the story behind some of these images.
Look at Mommy. Oh. I bet there's spiders in that hole.
Spiders where?
In that hole.
That's a person's eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's sand on his lips.
Yeah, so this is portraiture. What do you think this one is? Grand Central Station, street photography. These people are unaware.
And
This is the stairs of Montmartre in France. Some of my relatives over in France climbed these stairs this summer and were blogging about it, about how difficult it was.
Mama.
And then there's Dorothea Lange. She photographed the Great Depression. Beautiful portraits showing the hardships that people endured. And the evacuation of Japanese Americans. To internment camps. This grandfather and grandchild are about to get on a bus and leave their homes behind.
I got my makeup.
And then this is one of my favorites, Sherry Uelsmann. These are kind of surreal, but this is the process of composite photography where you have multiple exposures on the same photographic plate.
Mom, I like this one.
I know, it's cool, huh? Really love this work. So fun. Very surreal.
I like that one too.
Mm-hmm. And
I like that one too.
Gosh, we forgot to talk about what are these? Are these landscape, street photographs, portraits? I would call this one a landscape for sure. I really feel that one's got landscape too. They just seem like landscapes to me. It's a combination of different elements of nature that he just kind of fused together. But they usually are these landscape type images. And I would probably call this street photography. Um, Man, I don't know if there's some posing going on. I don't know. Could be. It could be portraiture. Do you notice if you look at this picture carefully, look at their umbrella. You guys have ever been in a windstorm? It's very possible that they just endured a very windy, crazy rain, and this person's like, woo! Noticing their reflection. I don't know. Yes, if you have Fine Arts B with me, you get to learn about this
There's a
crazy
mustache.
Yes, there is a mustache. That is Salvador Dali. Can you say Salvador Dali, Eva? Nope, she said nope. What would you call this? Street photography or landscape photography? Landscape for sure. Portraiture. This is Annie Liebovitz, and she works with celebrities.
Mom, he's on the
Rolling
clock.
Stone, Vanity Fair,
Mom.
Vogue,
Mm.
Joseph Karsh.
Mom, the guy was in the crocodile mouth.
He was in the crocodile mouth, yes. Joseph Karsh does portraiture.
Mom, I don't
Did portraiture.
I don't like crocodiles.
Me neither.
Not me.
So we had Martin Luther King Jr., Einstein, Ernest Hemingway, Nelson Mandela. And if you decide that you're going to take image design, you'll get to know Andy Warhol. Here's Ansel Adams, pretty cool environmentalist and photography, landscape photographs and Yosemite National Park. So these are landscapes, right? Yes. Cool. So can you identify the subject matter of a photograph? Basically, can you tell whether it's a portrait, landscape, or street photography? I hope so. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about photojournalism. So often photojournalists will use portraiture to capture a moment, but Robert Capa is one of the greatest photographers who've ever lived. When he was still alive, he was proclaimed the greatest war photographer in the world. He captured some of the most events, wars during his time, including the Spanish Civil War, Chinese resistance to the Japanese invasion, the European World War II, the First Arab-Israeli War, and the French Indochina War. And he tragically passed away in 1954 by stepping on a landmine. Very sad. But his photographs have been a very important part of history because they have allowed us to know and remember and have seared on our minds the images of men and women who gave their lives in the war to defend their countries. Anybody recognize this date? Ooh, if you don't, this is going to be a topic for you to Google. You should recognize these images in a heartbeat. So if you Google Robert Capa, you will find these images and you can figure out, you can say, well, I know I've seen that before, what is that? Or you can ask your history teacher, Brooks Larson. So when you want to know what's the story behind a photograph, just Google it. Find out, go on Google, put in the name of the artist, go into Google Images.
Look, there's a butterfly.
Yeah.
It's called. Before the broken wings.
Oh no. So I was looking at this picture that I found when I was looking at the Robert Capa, and I was like, I don't know, there's something seems wrong about it. There's something grainy about it. I'm just not feeling a connect with him. So I decided to look a little further into this one. It's called Flower Child, and sure enough, I went and found this ad or this article on the Smithsonian.com, and lo and behold, Mark Ribot did this photograph, not Robert Capa. So, who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust the Smithsonian, or am I going to trust Google Images? Which source is more reliable? This is something that you guys need to be aware of. Google Images is just a compilation of images that are on websites. So anybody can post an image and put its personalized that is accurate. So be really careful. For those of you who don't know what the Smithsonian is, it was founded in 1846. It's in Washington, D.C., and it is the world's largest museum, education, and research complex. It has 19 museums and galleries, the National Zoological Park, and 9 research facilities. So, obviously, the Smithsonian is going to be the more reliable source, and so I'm going to go with Mark Mode to this photograph of Flower Child. And that gives me an opportunity to give a little plug for our history teacher, Mr. Brooks Larson, who has a field trip coming up to Washington, D.C. If anybody's interested in close up, you might want to ask him if you guys are going to have a chance to come visit the Smithsonian. That could be a really fun excursion. So let's get back to it. This is the agenda I posted in the beginning. We're almost there. We just need to recognize the elements of art, and the principles of design, and you'll be ready to go. So let's go through the elements of art quickly. There are 7 elements, and we're just going to take a quick look at what we see with this picture. Does anybody see line in this image?
No.
Okay. And then what about shapes? Shapes are 2-dimensional shapes, like circle, square, triangle, trapezoid, that kind of thing, rectangles.
No.
And then forms are 2-dimensional, or sorry, 3-dimensional. Shapes 2D, form is 3D. So do you see cylinders on here, or prisms of any kind? What about space? Space is the area outside of an object or within an object. Lots of space here. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So when you're looking at black and white, that's tone.
I have cookies with Mommy. Okay.
Obviously, this image doesn't have any color, but it does have some different textures with like the soft surface of the water versus the puffy clouds. So just take a look at this next image. Do you see line? Yeah, I see the line of the horizon here. I see some diagonal lines. These lines that are kind of going into a diagonal, if you follow them to a point in the back, that creates perspective, the illusion that it's going into the depth. Do you see shapes? Shapes are two-dimensional objects. I see shapes on the wall here. They are organic nonetheless, but these are 2D. They are shadows cast on the wall. Do you see form? Do you see three-dimensional objects? Yes, the dancers have form. They're three-dimensional. Do you see space? Yes, this perspective that we have here shows us that there is a space between these dancers and their shadow on the wall. There's space between them. We can see it visually. What about value? Value, these are the lightnesses and darknesses of color. So for example, this shadow has a very dark value and these white clothes have very light value. You can see the shadow contrasting against the light green wall. Color. We've got our dancers in color and our shadows just more like kind of a black and white grayscale representation. And texture. Definitely more texture with our dancers than there is in their shadow. So that's just kind of how that works. It's pretty commonsensical. What elements of art do you see in this image? Texture, form. Eggs are three-dimensional. And value, the lightness or darkness of colors all over the place. Really nice. Color, those way those eyes pop. And you will learn how to do those fun techniques. Now we have the principles of design. So once again, it's all pretty intuitive. Pattern, do you see pattern in this? I certainly do. The pattern of the zebra, contrast between the black and white. The emphasis here, probably my eyes kind of go towards the center of the image, but then they also bounce back and look at the eyes. So this kind of depends on you, what the emphasis is, what your eye is brought to. Balance, I definitely see balance here, especially since it's symmetrical. I see a line of symmetry and it's almost an image on either side. Harmony, does this feel harmonious to you? For me, there's a lot of rhythm and movement, just the way that the lines keep kind of flowing in these circular motions. It just doesn't, my eye can't sit still. There is a lot of movement. My eye is constantly swirling and shifting from one spot to another. Obviously, this is emphasis, using color to emphasize an object on a black and white background. We've got a beautiful, harmonious scene here. There's balance, and it's very calm. And horizontal lines will genuinely make you perceive calm, placid, tranquility. Whereas when we have diagonal lines, we get this very chaotic, rhythmic movement. There's just an explosion of movement happening because of all of the diagonals in this image. And then proportion. Are these people really about to get buried by a pail? Probably not. Probably just proportion. How would you be able to take this photograph yourself? So that is the lesson, ladies and gentlemen, and just to give you some suggestions for your blogs this week, I do encourage you to work on your blog at least once a week. It's your artist portfolio. And suggestions for you this week are to choose a photograph and explore the meaning or the story behind it and blog about it. That'd be a really fun blog connection for those exceptional students who are looking for additional learning extensions. Research one or more of the photographers we've highlighted this week and blog about it. So that's it, guys. Whoops. Go and take your test. The week 2 test. It's in the week 2 lesson folder right underneath this lesson. And blog about it. Blog not about your test, sorry, but write in your blog this week, post a picture, whatever. Start the week 2 assignment, and there, have a great day. So, ciao, y'all.